Hi, today I'm here with Susie Beville and I'm very excited to be talking to her. Susie, hi.
Hi, Lisa.
Susie lives down the road, so it was not a huge effort. She walked down to my house and I'm excited to have this chat. Susie, you've just come back from Europe.
I have.
Lucky you. You and all the other people.
Summer.
Summer. But your journey wasn't just for holiday. You had something special going on.
Correct.
Could you want to tell us a bit about that?
Yes, so we had planned a trip overseas to Israel and where else were we going? Greek islands. And then my brother, my baby half-brother, Alon, got engaged, and I always said to him, when he gets engaged, I really, really want to be there. And I knew that him and his beautiful new wife, Jasmine, wanted me to be there as well. So we decided to change our plans, give up one of the Greek islands and hop to the UK, my first time ever in the UK. And we went to London for 10 days, including Alon's wedding.
Okay, so for most people, it sounds normal that you want to go to your half-brother or step-brother or half-brother's wedding, but explain what the significance of this. And I think that will take us down the beautiful journey that you're going to explain to us today.
Okay, so I am adopted. Some people know, some people don't. And Alon's my half-brother via my birth mother. So we share the same birth mother, and we share different fathers. So I found out I was adopted when I was 4, and up until probably 12 years ago, I had not met Alon or the rest of that side of the family. My birth father is another story. So I really met Alon and the rest of that family, that side of the family, 12 years ago.
Okay, so let's go right back. So you knew you were adopted when you were 4 years old. Do you remember your mum telling you that you were adopted?
I kind of do. I mean, I don't remember much from when I was 4. So I remember my parents bringing it up and explaining it to me. I think I had a book. Can't remember.
Yeah. Books were a big thing.
Books were a really big thing. I can't really explain.
If it's too hard to talk about, here's a book.
Where did I come from?
Yeah, exactly.
Other people had the Where Did I Come From book. And I had
Where did I come
Where
from?
Did You Really Come From book. So with that, I just always knew from whenever I can remember.
And do you feel like that was a healthy way to grow up without no secrets?
Absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah, no, 100%. I know people who found out inadvertently that they were adopted or were told in later life, and this was just something, it was part of me that I was adopted.
Great. And how was your childhood here in Caulfield?
Oh, well, how could it not be great here in Caulfield, in the hood?
Yeah.
Yeah, fine. I didn't know any better as far as what adoption actually meant so much. I had great parents growing up. My dad sadly has passed. My mum, Baruch Hashem, is still around. Baruch Hashem, and cover all bases.
Yeah, exactly.
So I had a childhood like most other people, except when it came to a point in primary school, as I got older, I did know that I was adopted. I didn't have younger parents, and I also didn't have brothers or sisters, which not a lot of us were in that same situation. I've got a few friends who are only children, but they were not adopted. That was just the way it was.
So you didn't really feel different as a result of this knowledge?
When I was younger, not so much, a little bit, but I wasn't sure why I felt different. So I wasn't lacking in anything. I wasn't lacking in love. I wasn't lacking in horse riding lessons, tennis lessons, anything and everything. My parents went out of their way to make sure that I had. And it was more as I got a little older, I don't know, grade 3, grade 4, when you realise that you are different, not only coming from parents who are Holocaust survivors, which is not a usual thing for our age group. There were a few family friends, but mainly it's not something that was common. So that then highlighted the difference in, wasn't sort of the age that was different, it was more the circumstance that was different. And when we hung around on the weekends with family friends, they were all from the same ilk. They had a lot older children, bar very few. And that really, that's okay, it's just a dog.
Just a dog.
That was the marked difference, I think. And that's when I started becoming a little bit more aware. But I didn't really think too much about it, except that I didn't have siblings and my parents were a bit older and came from different circumstances.
Right. So you having this lovely childhood and going about your life, how did it happen that you started seeking your birth family?
So the laws changed. The law was for many, many, many years that you as an adopted child could not find your parents, and adopted parents who had adopted children out could also not seek their adopted children. Now the laws changed, I think, trying to remember, maybe about 18 years ago. I can't actually remember now when. But as soon as I saw it on the news, I sort of debated a little bit about it and then thought, okay, I just need to find out what's going on. Prior to that, I'd actually been told, because my parents had been told, that my birth mother had died of a kidney disease giving birth to me. And as I've now found out, my birth mother was actually told that I was shipped off to America after my adoption. So
neither of these facts were true. You
neither
were
of
always
those
in
facts.
Australia.
I was always in Melbourne, and she is also, Baruch Hashem, knock on wood, alive.
Wow. Okay, so that's definitely was probably a sign of the times in those
Absolutely.
times.
Plus, it was Jewish welfare. It was run differently to other adoption services. There were 2 women on a little typewriter in 1968, probably before that as well, in a tiny little office. There was no Beth Weitzman, there was no Jewish care, there was literally Jewish welfare, and people were making decisions on their own based on, what should we do?
Here's a baby.
That's it. What do we do? And Jewish adoption was not prevalent because of the Holocaust, because most people couldn't think of giving children up for adoption because their families, everyone knows anyone who has come from that scenario. So it was like, okay, this is a rarity. And although there are a few people in similar circumstances, in a similar age group or older and a little bit younger, after maybe a couple of years after I was born, it really didn't happen.
Yeah, no, very hard now to
adopt
a Jewish child.
Absolutely.
So, okay, Susie, so I'm getting this lovely picture of your happy childhood, and that you came really from a position of strength when the laws changed to seek where you came from. Is this something that you had a burning desire to know? Like, was it something that had been worrying you, or do you think it was more like, let's see how this goes?
I think it was, let's see how this goes, because I went in there with what I thought was the knowledge that I wasn't really going to find very much. I knew that I had a birth father, and we were told that he didn't want to keep me because that my birth mother had died. So I didn't go in there with a whole amount of hope, but I thought, maybe he's remarried, maybe I have some siblings. I actually went in there only with the sibling idea rather than the parental idea. And also by this stage, I've had my own kids, and all my life I've had to write, when it comes to family history, family medical history, NA.
Really? And
then when you have your own children, it becomes a little bit more important to maybe find out what medical history you can find out.
Absolutely. Wow. To write NA, is that what you would write on
Yeah,
forms?
just write NA. You just get used to writing NA because there is no medical history, none at all.
Gee. So how was your dad still alive at this point when you embarked on finding your
yes.
family?
Oh, yeah. So Dad only passed away 8 years ago, and it must have been about 15 or 16 years ago.
So let's go. How did they respond, your lovely parents?
Well, when I first went to find out about it, and I got the information saying that my birth mother had not passed away, luckily, and that my birth mother and birth father had actually gotten married, and I had a sibling, and there was very little information. There was one typed sheet. So I was kind of a little bit stunned, and at the time I didn't really I knew I had a sibling. I knew that my birth mother had made Aliyah. I knew that they'd gotten divorced. I knew that they'd gotten married. This was all from one sheet of paper, like point form.
It's a lot to take in.
So I just went, okay. And then I just sat on it, and my husband at the time wasn't really, not encouraging, but not encouraging. So there was no one to sort of prompt me to go and do something about it. So I just kind of sat on it.
Right.
So it was more that because I didn't really tell anyone, and except for him, and there wasn't a lot of encouragement, not in a way of not encouraging me. It just wasn't. We had little children, and that kind of thing. So what was the question?
Yeah, so I want to know, how did your mum, your beautiful mum and dad?
Okay,
did you tell them that you were embarking upon this, or did you do it?
No. So I thought I'd do it first because there wasn't much to find out. Then when I found all this out and shelved it, then what happened was I was telling a friend of mine, and he said, "Well, your birth father lives in Australia. We're pretty sure he lives in Melbourne. Maybe we should find him." And I went, "You want to find him? Go get a private investigator. You find him." So he did. And he found him, and he emailed him, and within like a couple of hours. So I was like, oh, okay, don't know how this is going to work. So we set up a meeting, and I went to meet him, and met him and my, at the time, 17-year-old half-sister from him.
Right. How did that meeting go? Can you tell us about that?
Yeah, it was interesting because he decided he already had this big, huge family with me and the children, and my kids did not know I was adopted because I had never wanted to tell them, or never found the right time to tell them, because I didn't think there was really a point to it because there was no family.
Yes.
So, but when there was family, it got into a situation where they're quite young, and I didn't want them to have a different relationship with my parents. And that was the main reason I didn't tell them. But also, I was like, I don't want my parents thinking I don't want them as parents. So now I'm not going to really tell my parents yet. I will do that later on. Oh. And then the whole situation just kept going and going. And I found myself in a situation where one of the guys I was dating at the time decided to inadvertently, or vertently, I don't know if that's even a word.
Vertently.
Tell my parents that how nice is it that Susie went and found her birth father. Oh, yeah. But I did not know he did this. Wow. And my parents didn't tell me that they knew.
So everyone's trying to protect each other is what I'm
everyone's just in all different things, and it was not fun.
It's not fun. Very hard because, I mean, everyone's sensitive. It's a hard thing. You're grappling with this whole new family concept, and I think in the end it's just love that's trying to protect everyone. Your mum's love for you, your love for your mum, your birth parents.
Yeah, there's a whole lot of things going on, but it became a situation where it became a little bit more involved because it was like I was hiding something, which I was, but my reasoning behind it was because of protection.
Of course.
So that went on for a couple of years, and then I had a discussion with my parents and basically said, if anything ever happens, I will let you know everything. It's like, I'm not going to hide anything from you. And then a couple of years later, I got a Facebook message. No, I think it was an email first, and then a Facebook message within 10 minutes with my birth mother. I knew her name because I'd got that from my birth father, but I didn't know much else, and she tried to find me.
She tried. Okay. So we can go back one step. So with your birth father, the meeting went well, but that was it.
That was it. We kept in contact a little bit. My half-sister was very young, being 17, and I think that was a complete sort of shock to her as well.
It's a big thing.
And she actually had a twin sister who had passed away of a type of cancer, I think a year and a half before that. So she was thrown into this situation, and it was just all too much for all of us, I think, at the time.
Okay. But then when it came to your birth mother, who approached you, was searching for you, how did that initial interaction go?
So she sent me an email, and now I know where I get my impatience from. She waited 10 whole minutes of me not responding till she sent me a Facebook message, and it was the same thing. I think you're my mother. I think you're my daughter.
And then?
Which
what
she
happened
pretty
then?
much knew, because she actually got the information. She hadn't been in contact with her ex-husband, my birth father, because they had moved first to Israel. They'd made Aliyah with part of their family. I didn't realise that I had a full brother.
So you're saying to us that your birth mother and birth father
Got married.
Your mum fell pregnant with you, your birth mum fell pregnant
Yes.
with you. They weren't married.
No, because she was very young.
She was very young, gave you up for adoption, and then went on to stay together, get married,
Yes.
and have another child.
Yes, so what happened was she actually didn't want to give me up for adoption. Neither did her whole family, but she was convinced by his side of the family that it's not the right time, they're too young.
Could you tell us how old they were?
So Gina was just over 16, so I was at 17 when I was born, and I think Leon was 21. But it was different times. It was too young. I mean, it's too young now.
Yes, it is.
I would have freaked out had my daughter come home at 17 and like, okay.
But the world is different.
The world is different. We would have the whole village would have raised the child.
100%.
But at that time,
yes.
and it was also seen at that time as something that really wasn't done, and particularly probably in the Jewish community as well. So she and Leon got married, and they had my brother, my full brother, and then they got divorced. And her family, part of her family, she's one of 7.
Wow.
So part of her family had made Aliyah.
And are some of her family here in Melbourne?
Yes,
do you have aunties?
I do. So I have, it's such a long, convoluted scenario, but I have 2 aunties who are older than her, who are both living here. So I've been lucky enough to quite recently, in the last sort of 5-6 years, to have met a first cousin from one auntie and a first cousin from another auntie. And I have...
Did you know them?
No, they're out of the Jewish community, but they still identify as Jewish.
Yes. But I'm saying it wouldn't.
But there wasn't anyone around.
You? Did your auntie ever perhaps, see you in Coles and think, oh gosh, you look like my sister?
No, but the first time I met my first cousin, who's quite a lot younger than me, when my full brother, my sister-in-law, who's also named is Susie. Hi, Susie. And my 2 nephews were here, going back, I'm trying to think, because my older nephew is 14 and he was 4. So 10 years ago, they came to visit. That was the first time I'd met them. And we all went out for a lunch with my first cousin, who, of course, was...
Her first cousin,
his first cousin, and, So she said, I've also got a full brother who was adopted out as well, but we've been in contact the last 20 years. And it turned out to be my grade 3 teacher's adopted son.
Wow.
Who went to yeshiva when I went to Beth Rivka, and is, I think, a year or 2 younger than me.
Crazy.
So that's crazy.
This is what was going on. Well, it was obviously at the time how things were.
This is how things were working. So she made Aliyah with my brother, who was 8 months at the time.
Your mum.
And Gina. And her parents had made Aliyah not long before that. And so had her... How many younger siblings? 1, 2, 3, 4 younger siblings.
Right. So after this trauma of giving you up for adoption, I would imagine for the whole family, it was very hard. And maybe and they all moved to Israel? Or
I think no, that wasn't why they moved to Israel. I just think that was on the cards and that was a plan. And my auntie who lives in Israel, unfortunately one of my aunties passed away before I had a chance to meet her in Israel, actually went here to Scopus. And she was in quite a lot of my friends' year at school until she turned 13 and made Aliyah. So unbeknownst to me, until we sort of started to piece things together, there are a lot of people I know that are still friendly with her.
Right, and she was your auntie, but
she's my auntie. So she's 3 years older than me. And there was also another coincidence. I'm trying to think what that was, but I can't remember what that is now. My maternal grandmother, so Gina's mum, actually was the kindergarten assistant at Scopus in the Q Scopus.
Wow, lots of people I'm sure will know her.
Oh, we went through the class photo where I was sitting with one of my friends. Hello, Rochelle. And when Gina and Dave came to visit my stepfather and they brought photos with them, and my bestie Dot, hi Dot.
They were all there.
Dot and Rochelle came out for lunch with us, and Gina pulled out the photo and went, and they were like, oh, what's this? And then Rochelle went, oh my God, that's me. And then we went, all the other people we know. So we actually know out of maybe 22 people, 21.
Isn't it amazing that the worlds are so close, and yet
so that was my
you
grandmother.
were living parallel lives.
That's it. So
wow. Okay. So how was that meeting when you did meet Gina for the first time? How was it inside of you? Like, how did you feel?
A little bit apprehensive, of course. We'd been talking for I think it was 6 or 7 years.
Online,
FaceTime. Wow. Skype at first, then FaceTime or WhatsApp, whatever it is,
teary conversation, like, oh my gosh, or very
not for me. I think Gina's also quite matter of fact.
And I am in the family.
I am emotional when I watch Kleenex ads.
But for your own thing.
But for my own thing, I'm very pragmatic and very practical. So it was more a learning experience. I'm also very lucky that her husband Dave, my long-lost favourite birth stepfather.
That's a lot to imagine.
So is amazing as well. And I'm also really lucky that my full brother Joel, Gina had 2 more kids with Dave, Alon and Rachel. So my half brother, half sister. Alon's the one who just got married. They're also lovely and Hamish and warm and welcoming. And
which is true. It could have gone the other way.
Could have
seen you as such a threat.
Oh, yeah.
And as something unnatural, something they didn't want in their life, but instead it's just added to everyone's life.
Absolutely. And everybody in the family has been so incredibly welcoming. And because their family is so big, that there's just people coming out of the woodwork all the time. And thanks to Dave, who's actually a genealogist as well. So they actually live in London. That's why I ended up in the UK visiting.
Right.
So
that whole Israel experience, now they're in London.
Not all of them.
Not all.
Some of them are in Israel. Gina and Dave are in London with one of my aunties is in London. But all my siblings, besides the one who lives here, is also in London. I've actually reconnected also with May, which is my half sister here. She is
from your dad.
From my dad's side, yeah, from Leon's side. I have not seen him more than 1.5 times, which is my choice right now. But May is only 3 years older than my daughter.
Wow. And
she's very similar in the respect that she's, goes to festivals. We've been at the same festivals at the same time without knowing each other. So it's sort of history repeating itself.
And talking about your children, how's this been for them? Can you tell me about that?
Kids were, trying to think how old they were, probably about 12 and 14 at the time when I told them. And I made it very clear that, I didn't really know much about the family at this point. And I was like, your grandparents are your grandparents.
Mm-hmm.
They're your grandparents, okay? And they were young and they were fantastic. They kept going up to my parents going, we love you. You are our grandparents. We hadn't met anyone else at this point. So Jaden is amazing as far as he loves to collect family.
Right.
He can collect as much family as is humanly possible,
lovely.
which is amazing. And Geordie is also very happy about the situation. She's a little bit not less happy or less keen, just shows it in a different way. Jaden, my half-brother Alon, is only 11 years older than Jaden, which then makes my half-sister Rachel only 11 years older than Geordie. And Alon and Jaden have a really special relationship, which is great. But both my kids have actually, my first time in the UK recently, my kids have been there. I'm not sure how many times Jaden's been there. Geordie, I think 4 times, maybe
without
more.
knowing.
No. With knowing.
With knowing.
Wow.
So they've spent time with them.
They met them, all of them, before I did. And spending time with them, not just spending time with them, actually staying at their places. So that has been amazing. Alon and Rachel live in London, and Gina and Dave and Joel, Susie and the kids live in Leeds.
Wow.
So
if I can ask you, now that it's all worked out and it seems like you've only gained from this experience.
Oh, absolutely.
What was your story? What happened to you as a baby? Have you pieced that together? Do you know how you went from Gina to landing up with
so that's also an
Sorrells?
interesting story. So because Gina and Leon were so young and Gina was forced to give me up, and it was a devastating situation for her, I was essentially taken away by Jewish welfare. Literally hand over the child, not stolen, but still stolen kind of thing. It wasn't a voluntary...
under duress.
Under duress, thank you. Yes, completely under duress, but thinking, okay, well, maybe this is a better thing. I don't know. And what happens is you have to have a cooling off period for adoption. You did have to have back then. And I know this part of the story because I got a phone call, maybe 3 or 4 years ago, maybe more, maybe 4 or 5 years ago, from Linda Cohen, I'm sure she won't mind, who rings me up and says, Susie, and I've known Linda for a while through other people, we were more acquaintances than friends, we've become friends, and she said, I've always known this. I've never really wanted to say anything without you knowing what has been going on. But basically, you're my foster sister. My family fostered you for, I think it was 4 weeks when you were 3 weeks old. And not only that, Linda's got 2 brothers, and her brother Peter, who I think was 6 or 7 at the time, literally adopted me.
He loved you.
Loved me, and never forgot about me. And Gabby and Leon, what had happened was they had a sort of a problem with Jewish welfare, which was, how do we make sure this child goes to a Jewish family while she's being fostered? Because we don't want her going into the system. We don't want her going to a non-Jewish family. So from what I understand, that, and another side, Timmy Rubin's mother, the mikveh lady.
Yeah.
Hi, Timmy.
Marion.
Marion. She actually was the one working at Jewish Welfare with another lady, and she contacted some of her friends, and they had a kind of a meeting or something, and I'm pretty sure, Gabby, this is how it went. That she went, okay, could you please foster her?
Yeah.
Could you do something to help? No, from what I remember,
very
from what Gabby had said,
and
very ad hoc.
But with love, with so much love.
Oh, completely.
Yeah.
Like, you've got 3 children under like 6 or 7. The other one won't be bothersome at all. So that was amazing.
So that was the interim period.
That was the interim period, and my mother actually never told me about this. And she kept in contact with Gabby and Leon for quite a while. And Gabby actually showed me a beautiful note that my mother had written to Gabby, thanking her for looking after me.
Wow.
So these are all people in the community, and to have all this happen and be like, oh my God, I've gone from a very small nuclear family, not having any relatives because of the Holocaust. Literally, my grandmother, my parents, and myself, and all my family friends who were family. I had so many aunties and uncles, Hungarian aunties and uncles, and Polish auntie and uncles.
Who weren't really
and
your
Czechoslovakian.
auntie.
Well,
Yeah.
not my uncle,
Yeah.
auntie and uncle, but I didn't have any aunties and uncles.
And now?
And now, straight up, I have, unfortunately, one's passed away, but I have 4 aunties, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 4 aunties and an uncle.
Amazing.
Which is amazing.
So I think, I mean, you, in your own words, this has been an absolute bonus to your life.
Amazing journey, amazing bonus. I am only grateful and thankful for all this, because it's wonderful to know where you come from. And I think that was always an issue as I got older. Doesn't matter how much love you're given in the world, if you don't know anything about yourself, you literally don't know anything about yourself. Nothing.
And do you feel that by meeting Gina, you found things about yourself?
Gina and the rest of the family, because I look like other people. I've got mannerisms. I've got so many relatives. It's just amazing. And, you know, when I had my kids, it was like, oh, okay, these are mine.
Yes, something that was
literally
from
directly from me. And now seeing the different generations and the expansion of the family and going across there for the wedding, which was so special because I didn't know beforehand, but I was actually a witness for not the ketupat, obviously, the civil what's it called, certificate, whatever it's called, which was amazing. And I also got to do a little their version of Sheva Brachot in front of all these people I did not know.
Wow.
Which was amazing. And I met so many people, can't remember any of their names, but cousins, and it was just wonderful. And they made Johnny and I feel so special to be there, that it was an absolute, I felt like it was a privilege and a blessing that they also thought it was as well. So that was great. And Mum was amazing, has been amazing about me after a lot of traumatic situations over the years, to be amazing, to understand that I really needed to go across.
And to do this.
Which has been fantastic. So there's a whole lot of other things, but there's not enough time to go into all of it.
But you feel that at this point in your life, to have added this family to your own family is just something wonderful.
They're our family now, which is just incredible. And I would encourage, I know there's a lot of people have come out of the woodwork who have been adopted that I did not know about. Others I have known about. It's a very personal thing to look for your family. I am only encouraging about it, even if there's one member of your family that's not interested in meeting you, however close they may be. There may be a brother or a cousin or a distant relative that might be interested in meeting you. It is still something that I think that you may regret if you don't do it, because I'm regretful that I didn't do anything about it sooner, because I missed out on a half-sister and an auntie, and they're very directly related to me. So I would really encourage anyone, and I know someone who at one of the talks that we did, actually it was an encouragement for them to go off and connect with someone that they were a bit hesitant of doing, and they contacted me and said they were really happy that they did that. So more of those stories, the better. And if anyone wants to talk to me about it at any point, I'm very happy to, because particularly in the Jewish community, we don't want to hurt our families by going and finding new family. It's not new family, it's just an addition to the family. So I'm just putting it out there. If anyone would like to chat, or if you're thinking about it at all, please have a really good think about it and do it, because you need to be able to do something for yourself, not worrying about whether you're going to hurt someone in your family.
Absolutely. I think you've shown that it can all really, I mean, hopefully for everyone, work out beautifully. And thank you for being so honest and for sharing everything. And I think it's an amazing story. It's an amazing Melbourne story, because all that happened right here under our nose. And I think it's just a testament to love. So much love that you've been given that put you in a position of strength to go and seek out your birth family.
Very lucky, and thanks for letting me share it once again.
Thank you.